center of the color wheel, the hub, the manifestation of quintessence. And in the center of this central space, a poppy grew. Its middle was as black as the space was white, and its petals were so thick with red that the thin weave of the white space could not contain its stain. As the poppy grew and flushed redder and redder, it saturated the very air it breathed, and the weight of its color hung heavy, heavy, heavier in the fragile firmament. One day the color began to run. The red petals of the poppy dripped color bleeding out across the ground. And as the blood pooled and ran, it took form as the veins and bodies of two sisters, one with clear, sharp eyes and thick, strong arms and legs, and nails like birds' talons. The other tall and thin, with eyes like mirrors, and two tall horns rising from the top of her head. The two sisters were foils, one guarded, tense like a snake, while the other opened her mouth to catch the rain. One a dense knot of energy, the other radiating like a pebble tossed in a pond. Both sisters were dark and light, the entire range of earthly emotion and experience compressed into each being. Both raged, both sobbed, both felt near dissolving from infinite joy. One was a sugar cube dropped in the sea, the other burned with the sun behind an eclipse. The sisters looked around at the empty space. The first sister drew her claws across her own chest, opening the life's blood of her heart, so recently grown in flesh. She drew forth a river of her own interior, watching the surge move thickly across the ground, gaining speed as it fell, thinning in the air, no longer blood but water. And in her pain the sister cried out, and her tears collected into oceans. The second sister bent her head and used her antlers and her fingers to draw out the horizon, sweeping up into mountains, circling the clouds in the empty expanse slowly separating into sky. She tore out her hair and planted it, watching it take root and grow into trees. She pricked her fingertip on one sharp thorn and let droplets fall, delicate bloodletting becoming flower blossoms. The first sister coughed up a spray of bile and blood, and each drop that fell grew legs or fins and moved slowly off into the colorful world, sprouting tails and paws or horns or teeth. She curled her claws and drew great furrows across the ground, digging out river valleys, lake craters, rocky canyons. The second sister looked up with her wide, bright eyes, and their reflection in the field became the light of the world. The world that they built was a world of dark and light in equal parts, mountains and valleys, sunshine and rain, rabbits and wolves. Predators preyed on prey who preyed on prey. It was a world of heart's blood and bodily cast-offs, fingernails and flesh and hair. The wind pulsed, thick as soup, and the tides rose into the skies and dropped away suddenly, leaving the world a desert. Fires raged until a burst of torrential rain wiped the surface clean. The earth heaved and split and stitched itself back together with tree roots and mudslides. Where flowers bloomed, their colors spilled so bright and wet that they stained the air around their gardens, so every dandelion field cast a yellow aura and roses beamed with color like dew. The sun rained light and the moon bleached out the night sky. When the sunset tinted the clouds, they swelled and burst, spraying color far and wide, and the night sky wore hints of red and gold, an after-image hours after the sun had disappeared. The touch of darkness was like a stain upon the land, and many beasts found their fur forever inky dark after the first lunar cycle. And where leaves fell from the trees, they left green wakes to drift to earth like pollen. In this world, the ocean blazed, the wind left oily marks, and snowflakes flashed and strode. Rainbows persevered through thunderstorms, and lightning rent the earth with lead-white crevasses. The sound of clouds crashing left dents in the sky, and a bleeding animal would never die, painting the earth with the color of its veins, leaving shivering crimson trails that nourished the undergrowth. The two sisters lived in their happy chaos, but soon found themselves hungry. However, the place they had created was so beautiful they could not bear to rob it of its fruit. For days and nights they fasted, foregoing sleep and burning through night and day to play in their wonderful and perilous world. They ran across vast expanses of prairie, chasing the fuzzy purple horizon, then chased the sky up and up and up, fearing a blue so infinite they could fall through it. As long as they kept moving, they would never grow tired, and so ran for eons through the world of their own creation. Their hunger gestated and grew into a vibrating energy that sustained them. Two sisters running on fumes, forever and ever and ever, manic and wild and terrifying and lovely. One day they came to the edge of a broad white ocean that, somewhere far off in the distance, met a broad white sky. Here ended the farthest reaches of their influence. In their frantic excitement, they had outrun, at long last, the spill of their own imagination. Past the tide line resumed the boy, fragile and white. Had the sisters run headlong into the sea, perhaps they would have dragged the thermal with them, setting the void ablaze with their unbelievable light. As it was, however, they slowed, fearful of the white place from which they had come. As their feet ceased to move, however, the void grew brighter and brighter, a heady expanse that blinded and hurt. The two sisters faltered and suddenly grew heavily hungry and ravenously tired. They fell to their knees. Both sisters looked at the sweet, saturated ground on which they knelt. One sister, in her frustration, used her claws to rend their beautiful world apart, crammed her mouth full of fragments. The other sister bent her head and with her soft tongue licked the color off a dripping lily. The world of color was sweet and bitter, and they ripped pieces of it to devour and licked the meadows clean with their hunger. Not satisfied, they continued pressing oozing petals and earth into their mouths, their stomachs burning, their lips only craving more color, more flesh. They did not stop until they had licked the whole world back to flat and gray, except for one scarlet poppy, whose color was so rich and so deep that they dared not press it to their lips. And then they fell to the ground, overcome with exhaustion. Holding hands, they fell immediately into sleep, one sister with her antlers casting shadows like tree branches, the other with her hooked claws curling gently around her sister's shoulder. And the big red poppy bent its head and enfolded them gently in its petals, absorbing their flesh and their blood